The Pentagon announced plans last September to award a 10-year cloud computing contract that could be worth billions to the company that wins it. There are reports both Microsoft and Amazon are going after the deal by holding public events and speaking to the media. Google also is reportedly pursuing the lucrative contract, but much more quietly. The company is said to be keeping its interest in the deal out of the press and even from its own employees. Patrick Tucker joins me now from Washington. He is the technology editor for Defense One, and he wrote an article about this called "Google is Pursuing the Pentagon's Giant Cloud Contract Quietly, Fearing an Employee Revolt." Hi, Patrick. So why would Google be keeping its pursuit of such a lucrative contract from its employees?
Well, unlike Amazon and Microsoft, Google, the internal culture there is one that wouldn't necessarily support a closer collaboration with the Pentagon, particularly for a contract like this. The cloud contract that the Pentagon has in mind is very much to enable better and faster combat operations going into the future. This isn't just a cloud that's going to help the Pentagon handle logistics data or emails or things like this. This ties in with something that they envision as part of the future of war. Better and faster movement of data very much to the front lines. Now, if you look at some of the employee culture at Google, going back earlier this month to an earlier and much smaller partnership with the Pentagon over a project called Maven, which used Google's artificial intelligence prowess and aspects of their AI engineering to apply to a Pentagon project to better target and recognize different objects in video and ISR surveillance footage. There was a lot of controversy around that, and more than 3,000 employees actually signed a protest letter saying that they weren't interested in being part of a company that would participate in a partnership like that with the Pentagon. Now, the Pentagon and Google's CEO, Sundar Pichai, have said that that particular program isn't directly related to anything that would involve AI taking, like, for instance, a human life. But it is an important step forward in allowing analysts to much more quickly move through a lot of surveillance information, and it does not directly but indirectly help with targeting. And that, in many ways, is an example of what this cloud is supposed to enable for the Pentagon.
So can you explain a little bit further the particulars of this contract? Specifically, what would the winner be doing for the Pentagon, and what kind of money is at stake?
Well, we're looking at potentially a $10 billion contract over 10 years. And the way Pentagon leaders from different services have described what they want from this, they want a cloud that operates at the tactical edge. That's a direct quote from Air Force Chief of Staff David Goldfein. And the tactical edge means where combat happens. So they envision a cloud that's able to support pretty much anything the Pentagon wants to do. And that includes collecting and sharing information among a wide variety of different platforms, from jets to drones to tanks to ships, and potentially soldiers carrying around computers. All of this in the future is to be connected in sort of like a large information web. The Pentagon believes that that's going to enable them to operate much faster, much more flexibly in a much more difficult operating environment in the event of war with China or Russia. So it's an incredibly ambitious plan for this cloud project, and it's directly tied into all of the future of the Pentagon's larger plans and strategies.
So there's a lot of money in it, but do you think there's something even more in it for the company that wins this contract?
Well, once you've demonstrated that you can jump through the hurdles to meet the highest level of safety certification that would be part of this contract, then this clears you to pursue a lot of government work all around the world. This is an incredibly rigorous set of requirements that the Pentagon has laid out. And for that reason, this is important to note. Many believe that Amazon is probably the front runner. They're the only company that has already achieved both a top secret and a secret level cloud. But as a Pentagon official pointed out to me, they hadn't done that before winning a contract. And so even though there's only a 9-month ramp-up window between the award of the contract and when the company that wins it is supposed to deliver, it's a very short time scale to build a cloud like that. It is possible, and they like this competition to be as fierce as it can be.
It does seem, though, that perhaps Google's supposed internal battle over the Pentagon's giant cloud contract could impact its chances of winning the bid. I mean, does the Pentagon really want to take its chances on a company that has an internal disagreement over it? Maybe there's some fear of internal sabotage.
Well, this aspect of Google's culture is what a Pentagon official described to me as baggage. Amazon and Microsoft don't have the same level of internal ambivalence about whether or not to work with the Pentagon on a project such as this. But if you talk to Google engineers, they'll tell you that, first of all, the idea that the company might pursue this contract was a bit of a surprise to them. And just this week, Diane Greene, the head of Google's cloud business, held a town hall specifically to discuss the Maven project. This is such a big internal debate within Google that Greene specified the company was going to start pursuing a set of principles to better guide how they partnered with the Pentagon in the future. But she didn't bring up that they were going to be pursuing this enormous contract. She talked about it only in the context of the relatively small Maven program and said that she really wished that she had those list of principles in place before pursuing it, leaving out the fact that really it was kind of an opening act for potentially much larger partnership programs in the future like this cloud.
Very interesting. And I wonder who at the Pentagon will actually be judging the different proposals, because it seems like the technology involved is so advanced that it would be hard to even compare them.
Well, there is a working group that's been established to look at all of the different offerings that come in. Patrick Shanahan, Deputy Secretary of Defense, is managing that process, but there'll be a lot of eyes on this, and the different contributions, the different proposals are going to be very different, as all the different companies have very different strengths and weaknesses. The Pentagon official expressed to me that Google's artificial intelligence research and engineering efforts and how they operate with the Google Cloud was really the one thing that set them apart from Amazon, which, as we've said, has already achieved secret and top secret capability in the cloud that it's created for the government, and Microsoft, that has a lot of other business with the Pentagon going back many years. So it's really Google's ambition as an artificial intelligence powerhouse that sets it apart from the rest of the competition, but all the proposals will be rather different from one another.
The battle of the tech giants. May the best brain win. Can't wait to see how it turns out. All right, technology editor for Defense One, Patrick Tucker, thank you.
Hey, thanks for having me.